This week on Car Obsession.
The range is a somewhat worrying 390.
Oh no, that's not good. Petrol Light is now on.
Asda Express, you did me dirty. No hot food, come on, a man's got to eat. Hello guys and welcome back to Car Obsession. You join me with the brand new Suzuki Swift, and as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm seeing how far I can go on one tank. So let's slip myself inside the vehicle and let's make our way. So where am I going? I'm going to a place called Pendennis Point in Falmouth, which is from here in Worthing to there is, where are we? It's 261 miles. Now, this is the 1.2 3-cylinder petrol, the only engine available for the new 4th generation Swift. Suzuki claim on a combined run it can offer up to 64.2 mpg. Now this has a fuel tank capacity of 37 litres, which I think is 8.13 gallons if I remember correctly. Therefore the theoretical range of this car is 522 miles. And hang on a minute, so if I go to Pendennis Point, that's 261 miles there, and it's 261 miles back. That's 522 miles. That's well thought out, isn't it? Yes, it's almost as if I planned it. So yes, I'll be going from here to from here in Worthing to Pendennis Point, and seeing how far I can get on a full tank. So a bit of housekeeping. I haven't used any fuel additives. I haven't taped up the car to give better aerodynamics or to give better airflow. I haven't done anything special. All I've done is made sure the tyre pressures are correct, which they are, and I will drive the car as normally as possible. I may change gear a little bit sooner just to help that extra edge and to offer a little bit of hypermiling, but other than that, the car will be driven as per normal. So there'll be no 50 miles per hour on a motorway action. No, I want to try and drive this as normally as possible to give a proper real world test. As mentioned, the 1.2 petrol naturally aspirated mild hybrid is the only engine you can have for the new Swift. You can have this with either a 5-speed manual, which I have here, or if you so desire, a CVT, which personally I would avoid unless you really must have an automatic. Now, if you go for the CVT, you do get a slightly faster 0 to 62 time if things, if such things matter to you. That will bring it down to 11.9, whereas the manual is 12.5 seconds. So yeah, this isn't exactly a brisk car, particularly when you compare it to, let's say, the MG3 hybrid, which that does 0 to 62 in, I think, 8 or 9 seconds, which is a fairly large difference. You can also, interestingly, have this as an all-wheel drive option. So you can get this with Suzuki's All Grip, which Suzuki have been doing for quite some time. A little bit, well, I say a little bit, it's very niche in a Super Mini to offer it with all-wheel drive, but Suzuki are still doing that. I think from memory, Suzuki predict it will make up 10% of the overall sales of the Swift. So people are buying them, albeit not a lot, but they are being bought. The All Grip version can only be had with the 5-speed manual on the Ultra trim level, which is what I've got here. Well, I've got the Ultra trim level, but not the all-wheel drive. But if you want to go for that version, in regard to fuel efficiency, that's the worst version you can get, because if you go for that, the MPG falls down to around 57 miles to the gallon. Road noise so far isn't too bad. Now, one of the things Suzuki has improved for the new Swift is soundproofing and NVH, that's noise, vibration, harshness. So I do have my little sound meter with me, so I'll test the sound levels in a bit, see how they are. Going into 70 miles per hour now, and I will be doing, oh hang on, I need to set my trip computers. Right, trip computers set. I almost forgot to do that, so I've covered about a mile since I reset them, so yeah, just bear in mind, got a mile or so to add on. You may be wondering why there are no GoPros on the outside of the vehicle. Well, haha, there's some science there. I thought if you've got a GoPro on the outside, what does that create? Drag. Drag is bad news for fuel economy, and granted a GoPro is quite a small device, but it could be the little bit of extra edge to help me over the finish line. Hopefully you can see on the camera on the right hand side, make sure that it's recording. Yeah, so if I shut up, that might be helpful. So I'd say it was hovering around 72, wasn't it? Another thing I want to find out on this journey, particularly as I'm going to be doing a lot of motorways and dual carriageways, is whether or not the new Swift feels underpowered. You look at the horsepower figure, a little over 80 horsepower, and you think, okay, granted, the Swift is a light car. It's been designed well, it's been engineered well, and therefore you're not having to lug about a load of weight. Even so, is this going to be a problem when it comes to, for example, overtaking Doris in a Honda Jazz in the left-hand lane? We shall see. My early impressions of the car, the pedal weight and feedback, I'm not a massive fan of it. I don't find the biting point overly obvious, and the brakes, if I'm honest, they feel a bit weak. The pedal doesn't give me bags of confidence. I'm not going to say they feel unsafe, because that would be harsh and untrue, but I would want the brakes to be a bit sharper, just to give you a bit more feedback. So far, average fuel economy 75.8, but the range is a somewhat worrying 390. Now, in the boot, in a black sack, I have what I'm going to call the jerry can of shame. So if I do run out of petrol, which at this point might happen, I've got a hill as well. No, hills are bad. If I do run out of fuel, I do have a backup, but I sincerely hope that is not required. So guys, an update. I've just entered Devon and things so far are looking good. So I've got just over 3/4 of a tank. I've covered just over 130 miles, which means I've got just under 130 miles to go. I've got about 2.5 hours left, so yes, I am halfway through my outbound journey to Pendennis Point. I'm doing 73.5 mpg, impressive stuff. What isn't so impressive is the range readout, because that is saying I've got 321 miles left. Now, I'm going to disregard that because that's just fear-mongering, and I don't think that's the most accurate readout on this display. What is the most important thing is the fuel gauge, and like I said, it's just over 3/4, so I'd like to think I've got plenty of petrol left to play with. Now that I've been on the road for quite some time, I can talk about my experiences with the Swift and what it has been like to live with on this journey. It's been a pretty good companion. I am getting a little bit of achiness in my upper back, but to be fair, this was never designed to be a Grand Tourer. This is a Super Mini that's mostly meant to go in and around town, so that isn't a complaint, that's merely an observation. The seats are pretty comfortable though. The bolstering is quite thick, a little bit soft, but it holds you in place well enough, bearing in mind this isn't meant to be a sporty model. Will there be a Swift Sport? I don't know. my opinion, I don't think there will be, but that's a different conversation for another time. Yeah, the Swift has been easy to live with. The sound system is decent enough. The touchscreen is easy to use. It can be a little laggy sometimes, but it isn't a massive issue. So yeah, that for me would be a somewhat nitpicky comment, because overall use of the touchscreen has been just fine. It's got a nice crisp display, it's 9 inches, and it is a good system to use. You have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay. I do have my phone attached via a cable though, so I can charge it. This car hasn't got a wireless phone charging pad, which again isn't a criticism or a negative, it's just how it is. This is a cheaper car, therefore you will have to forego some features, but having said that, even if you go for the base model, the Motion, you do get a lot as standard, so I've got no complaints when it comes to the specification. Even though this isn't a sporty model, it's still relatively enjoyable to thread through the bends. The handling is tidy, it's sure-footed. As I may have mentioned earlier, I would like the brakes to be a little bit better. I do find that they lack in feel and feedback. I would want a bit more bite from them. Initial dab of the pedal, you don't really get much speed being scrubbed off, and the brake pedal does need quite a firm push to really let off speed. One thing I almost forgot to update you guys on is whether or not the Swift feels underpowered. As I mentioned, this has a little over 80 horsepower, so yes, the power output is modest to say the least. Having said that, have I felt like a liability on the road, or have I found it difficult to overtake other cars? In all honesty, no. Yes, okay, if you're not in the right gear at the right time, you will find yourself bogged down, and particularly when you're going uphill, yes, you will have to change down gear. That's inevitable, but I'm sure many of you would expect that in a car that isn't turbocharged and has this kind of power output. In my experience though, so just stuck behind a cyclist and not really, you can't overtake here. In my experience, I haven't found the Swift to be underpowered. Would I want a bit more? Yeah, possibly, but I haven't found myself desperately wanting more power. So I would say it's sufficient, as long as you're, like I say, in the right gear at the right time. So then, I have arrived in Falmouth, not too far from Pendennis Point, and the update is mostly positive. There was a section on the A30 which is very hilly, and I won't lie, that made the fuel economy take a bit of a hit. The fuel gauge is pretty much on half now. The range is saying 207 miles left, which obviously isn't enough for me to get back home, so it could be an interesting end to the video. At present, I'm 2.4 miles away from my halfway point, which is of course Pendennis Point. Right, we're away, green light. So I think the question I need to ask myself is, am I confident I can get back on the remaining fuel? You know what? I'm not. they make you work for your lunch here. It's only an 11-minute walk, but it's very up and down. Lots of gradient changes. So yeah. Okay, so this is Pendennis Castle, a place I'd never been to. If it wasn't for filming this video, I probably would never have been here in all my life. But here we are, Pendennis Castle, before I pass out. There you go, Pendennis Castle. I think the water bowl's for me. Oh, man alive. Well, as I'm in Cornwall, it seems only fair to get a Cornish pasty. I might be able to enjoy it in peace after being attacked by what seems to be the only wasp in the UK this year. Where have the wasps gone? Not that I'm complaining. Yes, I know they are an important part of the ecosystem, but they're also a massive pain in the backside.
Right, I'm fed and watered and I've had a comfort break, so it's time for me to go back home. To get the car started. Okay, so pretty much bang on half a tank, and the range says 208 miles, and it's 261 miles to get home. Yeah, there's a slight difference there, isn't there? So we'll see how we get on. Oh no, that's not good.
This route avoid.
No, that really isn't good. The route home is 272 miles. There must be an accident or something.
This route avoids road closures on A30. You are on the fastest route.
Right, that must be the difference. There must be a road closure on the A30. Okay, so this has gone from a situation that was touch and go to one that's, dare I say, impossible. I think the jerry can of shame will come into play. That's for certain. Well, I think that's for certain. So guys, I thought I'd give you a quick update. I've got 4 hours 39 minutes left, and things were looking pretty bleak, I won't lie. But thanks to careful throttle inputs and a bit of coasting here and there, I've actually been able to get the range to increase. So at present, it's 188. A little further down the road back there, it was a little over 170. So I've actually gained range over the last few miles just by coasting down hills and, like I say, careful throttle inputs. Now, I'm not driving like a granny. This is a 50 and I'm doing about 45. Oh my god, it's just got up to 190. So yeah, the range is actually increasing, but I'm about to hit traffic. So all the good progress I've just made might be somewhat wasted here. Okie dokie, so an update. Things aren't looking good. My MPG is good, it's 71.5, but the range is the issue. Now, shortly after my last update, I hit some traffic, and then there was a toll bridge, and that decimated the range. So at present, I've got 100 miles left, but on my actual trip, I've got 165 miles, so that is a 65-mile difference. The longer route and the traffic hasn't helped. So yeah, I'm now in a dilemma. Do I keep going until there's nothing left, or am I gonna chicken out and find a petrol station when it's low enough? I don't know. We'll have to see how we get on. Petrol Light is now on. Ironically, it came on as I was passing an Esso. Now, I've got a difficult decision to make at this point. Do I carry on and risk the car conking out if it's on the road like this and I'm stuffed? Or do I bail out now and use the jerry can of doom? I mean, the annoying thing is, now the petrol lights come on, the range is blank. It was 34, but now it's anyone's guess. So, like I say, it is a risk to carry on going. And yeah, on a road like this, if I break down, then I'm going to be a safety hazard. So as much as I do want to have the cojones to go until there's nothing left in the tank, I need to be sensible. Pub car park, this will do me. Oh, the shame. Right, where's my spout? I did my best. The range is still blanked out. Therefore, I've still got no idea if I'm going to get home on the fuel I've just put in it. I think I would, but there's no point in risking it. I may as well just fill up now. There's an Esso about a mile away, so let's go there. So to remind you, this fuel tank is 37 litres, so it took 25.13 litres, so add that to the 5 I put in a few moments ago, that's 30 litres, so it had about 7 litres left in it, so a little over, well, about a gallon and a half really, isn't it? Okay, interesting. Right, let's pay up, do some calculations. Transition! So I've covered 469.8 miles. Factor in the little error by myself, I'm going to call it 470.5. I know, there's a slight inaccuracy there, but we're talking a mile. It isn't really going to affect the overall result, is it? So, got a calculator here. So, drum roll, please. That's a fanfare, not a drum roll, but you get what I mean. We have. That's pretty impressive. Not quite what the car is telling me on the onboard display, but check this out. Hopefully you can see that. In case you can't, that is 70.99 miles to the gallon. That's pretty impressive. So let's do a bit of man maths. Let's round it up. It's 71 miles to the gallon. So that is pretty goddamn stonking. Now, yes, I know the actual challenge of the video has not been accomplished. Yes, I failed the mission, but to be fair, the route back didn't quite go how I would have intended. And I still think the little Suzuki has done itself proud. Sorry to interrupt myself, but I have an important update after making some further calculations when I finally got home. Despite covering a total of around 554 miles, more than I anticipated, I would, in theory, would have had enough petrol to get home without the jerry can and without the fuel stop at Esso. With a fuel economy of 70.99 miles to the gallon, on a full tank you could achieve 577 miles. That means not only would I have made it home in theory, but I would have had over 20 miles spare. Ah, hindsight. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? So if you're after a small, frugal super mini that comes with lots of kit standard and is value for money, then I think you have to have a look at the Suzuki Swift. Now, if you enjoyed this video, of course, like, comment and subscribe. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section below. But yes, if you did like this video, I will be doing, well, hopefully a carbon copy with the MG3 Hybrid next month. So yes, check that out because it'll be quite interesting to see how that car compares. The fuel economy is the same, but it offers more performance. So will I get a bit carried away because it's got more oomph? Time will tell. Anyway, yes. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time, guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession. Oh, right, I can have the climate control on now. Good.